Did I tell you about my discovery that I can see underwater perfectly? Did I tell you that?
I was telling the kids about that, not about you, but about the phenomenon of that. If you have a particular prescription, the diffusion of light underwater is actually the same as your lens.
Somehow these goggles that I've got, plus the density of the water in the swimming pool, I can see absolutely perfectly underwater.
That's lovely. So you're gonna fill your house with water?
I think I might, yeah.
Just fill your glasses with water.
Fill your head with water.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Fill some goggles with water.
Yeah.
Save your money on glasses. Or maybe you're evolving, Dave. Maybe
I'm part fish.
Gone full circle.
Yeah, you're going back to the sea.
You're one of the first.
Return to the sea.
Maybe John could write a story about it, and the dolphins could talk.
That's a good idea. Yeah, who knows?
I'm now imagining you, Dave, with like a half bell jar on your head, like hermetically sealed.
Full of water.
Just come down to your nose.
It'd be like that Radiohead video of just a head full of water. Maybe I should try that. And it just means that I just look a bit weird because I'm constantly going underwater, looking at people's asses and going, wow, I can see. I can't see you at all.
Point. So you can't see when you come back up, which is when you actually really do need to see.
Yeah, can't see a thing above water, but underwater, really clear. Can see all the elastoplasts on the bottom of the pool in crystal
all the
clear
verruca.
vision. Yeah, exactly.
I've got a totally different problem. I've got loads of pairs of glasses. Because I don't need them all the time. So inevitably I just put them down and forget where I put them. So I've got loads just dotted around the house.
One in every
John
room.
Is literally walking around the house with 8 pairs of glasses on his head. You don't know where they are? Oh, I don't know where they are.
I can't find my glasses.
Puts them up.
They're all slightly the wrong prescription as well because I got them a while ago and my eyes have definitely got worse. So I quite often do the double glasses thing now where I'm still looking for a pair of glasses even though I'm wearing some.
As Specsavers, they must literally see you coming, John. Think, here we go. Can sell him another couple of pairs now.
Yeah, you definitely need some for your downstairs bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't need any for my downstairs bathroom, says John. I just put my head in the sink and fill it with water. Works a treat.
Welcome to the Failing Writers Podcast. We like to think of ourselves as a literary laxative. Just take one episode orally once a week and the words will be shitting out of you like a labradoodle that's been feeding from the bins behind the Star of India on the high street.
Tell you what, let's kick straight off and ask the question what we're writing this week.
Can I ask you? Can I ask the question?
A good sign.
No, you can answer the question, Dave.
Well, I don't really have an answer, so I'd like to ask the question. So, everybody, what have we been writing this week?
Well...
Or should I say, what have you been writing this week?
I'm going to start because I feel like Tommy's got something for us.
No, well, I haven't, but go on.
Okay. It's funny, isn't it? Because we had that quick conversation off mic about, I think it was off mic, about writer's block.
There's nothing's ever off mic, John.
Yeah.
Never off mic. Yeah. And I was quite cocky. I was saying, writer's block doesn't really exist, does it? You know, if you can't write something, it means you basically haven't got your idea.
You're an idiot.
Yet.
Means you're an idiot.
You're a total idiot. You're lazy and you're an idiot.
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah. So anyway, I got to a point in my murder mystery and just stopped. Oh. And I've been tucking away like 500, I don't know, between 500 and 1,000 words a day consistently. And then suddenly, just nothing.
What happened? Was it like a corner in the story? Did you get to a junction? Did you get to
Well, that's the thing.
Do you just not know where it's going?
Yeah.
See, I don't think that's writer's block.
No, well,
that's not writer's block, is it? That's just not knowing what to write.
Yeah, but
which is a very different thing.
having this exact conversation with myself. I was thinking, well, that basically is what writer's block is, isn't it? It's just we choose not to call it that because it's a semantic thing, isn't it, really? But, I think in the past we've all been a bit scathing of the idea of writer's block. But it was basically I was introducing a new character and I hadn't really thought it through enough.
So you didn't have the knowledge or the depth to...
Yeah, they weren't in my head yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't know how they spoke. I didn't know what they were going to say. And, I just
didn't know which 80s musician you were going to name them after.
Exactly. But I did finally get to the end of that scene with that new character. And then I was off again. So it was totally about that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Writer's block, it is a thing, but it's not really a thing.
It was more like a writer's blockage.
There you go. That's what we should call it.
Writer's blockage. Just need just re-divert around it.
Yeah, but I tempted the muses. Yeah, that's what I did by saying that it doesn't exist.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, muses.
I had a similar thing. I have the answer to the question is I haven't written anything, but I had a similar thing, and I genuinely can't remember if I've said this already.
David doesn't count as writer's block if it's been since February.
No, but I don't know if I've said this about. I haven't written anything, but it's the thing that I haven't written that has been the most pleasing. So I'd got to a point in. Please stop me if I've said all this last week, right? But I got to a point in the book.
John, did he say this last week?
Let's see what he says. I'm the wrong person to ask.
I don't remember. Yeah. Well, I didn't really sort of consider when I started writing a book about comedy that at some point I would have to write some stand-up comedy. In the book.
Of course.
Yeah. Bloody hell.
And so. And I
Can you not just dig up your old act?
Well, no, because I want it to be quite good. but I hadn't really thought. At some point, I've got to put some of the actual, act in there, surely. And I'd gone all the way through, and I'd got to the ends with this comedy competition, and it got to the second round, and I was thinking I can't just keep reporting that some comedy had happened.
And it was really funny.
Well, the thing is, so the second round, that thing on, it's like Mock the Week, the sort of scenes we'd like to see thing, where there's a subject and then everyone takes it in turns to say something.
Completely unplanned, rush into the middle.
Completely unplanned, rush to the middle. Then someone does a half go in and then come back out.
Yeah, but that's just, isn't it? It's obviously just completely improv.
So I got to that point, the second round of the competition is a round like that, and I thought, I need to write some of it. And that's where I stopped, months and months and months ago. And I knew, there's always this voice saying, just leave it out, just go past this and start the next bit. And I just couldn't do it. It's like, no, I have to write the next bit. And it's been 5 months. And so the best thing that I've written is I haven't written anything, but I've made the decision just to skip to the next scene.
See, that's brilliant.
And like you've done there, John, I can just divert around it, come back in, and then boom, away.
Which, to be fair, that's what I should have done, really. But then at least I've done it now.
Yeah.
That's a good
I'm sure lots of first drafts of things just say, a man says something here, a woman says something there. Yeah.
Insert funny bit here.
But the thing is, you can, by skipping that scene, you can give yourself time. And if you ever come up with you could just sort of float that around in your head while you're walking around the house, or, you might come up with things over a period of time.
It's just an odd thing, isn't it? Because I know that even if I did write some jokes in that bit, I know for a fact that they wouldn't be the jokes that would end up in the final thing, because I would change them anyway.
So you could just just literally make up anything that's mildly amusing. Yeah,
but even knowing that, I couldn't I've been unable to force myself to write something other than trying to make it funny, which is just silly. Silliness.
Just put some fillers in, put some knock jokes in.
Just watch Mock the Week and steal some stuff out of there as placeholders.
Have you decided?
No one's going to remember.
Have you decided on the style of comedian that's going to be delivering?
Well, this is the thing. So there are 10.
I think that would make it easier.
There are 10 of them left in the competition at this point. So and they each take it in turns.
Clips, so they don't all need to be in there, do these? But you can have the such and such that's doing the one-line thing, like the Tim Vine, Gary Delaney type stuff.
Yeah,
you get some of those out. Maybe if you kind of put it into little manageable chunks, and then someone else is just telling a little bit of a story, and then I don't know, it's the one that's stuck in the 1970s.
Someone who's a bit absurd.
Yeah, like a surreal.
This man says something funny. This man says something funny. This man says something that's not funny, and they get eliminated. It writes itself, really.
Why don't you start off with the one that gets eliminated that says something that's not that funny?
Yeah, but then I've got to think
and work your way up to doing the winner.
But that would be even harder, because then I've got to.
No, I think you'd be quite good at that.
I think I would be quite good at it. But the thing is, I would agonise over trying to write something that's definitely not funny, but that person definitely thinks that it is funny, and then I'm going to tie myself in knots. Then it's got to be the right kind of.
Tom is right, though. That is the way to look at it. Like characters, what would the characters say? That's good. That's a way.
Yeah, and then it's not your fault either. Do you mean it's
exactly.
not you doing it? You're doing it through them, for them. So and it's in their style.
Pseudonymous crap writing.
Your problem solved. Crack on with
Pseudonymous. So there we go. That's what I've not been doing. Tom,
what have you not been doing?
I've been doing something a little bit. Something we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So the BBC have started a new radio program where listeners submit the funny bits called DMs Are Open.
Yes.
So I actually submitted some stuff for that this week. I haven't heard anything back, obviously. But
when do you hear? I think it was late on last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe still time, but I'm not holding out any hope. But I just thought it was quite a nice little exercise to do. So,
What did you send in, Tom? Was it written stuff? Was it like voice
a
notes?
sketch, a couple of one-liners, and one of the voice note things. So yeah, as part of their thing, you almost like leaving a voicemail message, 20 seconds voicemail message about
brilliant.
something.
Yeah.
So it was quite nice just to.
No, that's great,
Finding
Tom. I meant
something
to have
to
a go
do.
at that, but
Yeah.
I haven't.
Had time.
And I think the good thing is, because I listened to the first episode and it was a bit shit.
It really was.
It was.
It really
and,
was.
That kind of took a lot of the, not pressure, because obviously not real pressure, but it meant you kind of think, well, yeah, I think that's quite funny. If they don't, that's fine, because
Yeah.
they picked a lot of stuff that wasn't very funny. So
Yeah.
that's all right. And if they do pick it, then I'll just assume that I was a lot funnier than the stuff that they had on. So either
It's
way,
probably
it's
they've
fine.
thought, that's too funny. We can't put that in.
That will make the stuff look terrible.
Yeah. Because then the rest of the show would have to be that good, and it just isn't.
Maybe it'll, but maybe it'll loosen up and warm up as it gets along.
Yeah, all new things are a bit, a bit tight to begin with, aren't they?
It did sound very new and unsure of where it kind of belonged.
Even your favourite boots probably rubbed a bit when you first got them. You had to wear a plaster for a while.
But let's hope they're not listening to this show. Otherwise, it's very unlikely they're going to use your
I did
material.
that and hit several deadlines.
Well done, Tom.
Fair enough. Well, we've all done something, haven't we? We've all done something this week. Even though my something was actually nothing, but still, I think it counts.
Thank you for listening to the Failing Writers podcast. Whilst every effort to remove spoilers regarding John's little tree story have been made, a few spoilers remain. The Failing Writers podcast accepts no liability for any reduced enjoyment of the aforementioned tree story due to such spoilers, so deal with it. While stocks last, subject to availability, APR 12,000%. Your home is at risk if you set fire to it. No purchase necessary. Terms and conditions don't apply.
But we have all been doing something, at least Tom and I have, because we've been reading John's little tree story. And today we're going to
subject John to a thorough thrashing.
Yes.
Taking a metaphorical branch from his tree and giving him a damn good thrashing, like the car in Fawlty Towers, as Basil Fawlty gets
we
angry.
hauled Tom over the coals last week. Now we're going to, or in the week before. Anyway, we hauled Tom over some coals, and now we're going to put John on some coals and make him feel uncomfortable.
John, I would like to know now how you're feeling about it.
I actually do feel a little bit nervous.
Oh.
Having said that, one of our favourite listeners, Jeff Harrison, said, and I quote, "Blink in ink, the tree story from John Rand is fantastic. I was gripped the whole way through the read-through of part one." So that's
nice
it for this week's
review.
podcast. Thanks for joining us,
That's a good
and we'll
review.
see you next week. Well, are we looking at your war book next week?
Maybe. But before that, John, you don't get out of it that easily, because possibly the most remarkable thing about this is that I have actually read it.
What?
I have read your story
Wow.
in its entirety. And not just I read it, but I thought, do you know what? Actually, I've got a mate who would probably
Flipping heck.
enjoy this as well. So it's not just me and Tom that are going to do a
What?
review. I've got a mate who's going to give a review. Let me just see if I can get him on the line now, because I think he's got something prepared. Hang on. Here we go. My name's Trevor, and I'm a tree. Let me be really frank with you. I'm looking forward to these clever human beings finally seeing what it's like for me and all the trees. I'm so pleased that John's only gone and written an abstract piece about a subject that's near to my heart. So let's start. What do I need to do to give a review? Hey, what? Oh, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Well, because I can't read. Well, I'm a tree, ain't I? Not my fault. I went to school. Didn't have them where I grew up. Couldn't afford it. I was one of about 20,000 kids, you know. Well, all right. Well, I'll just have to leave the reviews to Tom and Dave then. Yeah, okay. All right, bye.
It's Neil from the Young
Oh,
Ones.
yeah, that's a shame. I thought Trevor was going to
What a
do a
shame,
good
yeah.
review, but that is a shame, isn't
What
it?
kind of tree is Trevor?
Yeah, I don't. He's a mix.
He's a hybrid tree.
The classic mongrel tree there.
Yeah. Little bit of this, little bit of that.
Good
So,
answer.
it's just going to have to be me and you reviewing it then, Tom.
Oh, well,
Which is a shame.
never mind.
But do you know what? I will start my review by saying, John, I thought it was really good.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
I really enjoyed it. It was a lot less tree than I thought. From your description of it, I thought it was going to be really, really tree heavy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
I'll be honest, I think that was the idea when I first started writing it, and then realised quite quickly that wasn't going to make a very good story.
I think you made a good call, a wise call.
Yeah, that's good.
Because, but it was a really sort of nice love story, but a really sort of inventive and original way of telling it, I thought.
Yeah, it was. I think the concept was, I in my notes here, I've described it as elegant.
Elegant.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. It's such a nice, you feel, it's so easy to buy into it because it's so clear what it is. And so you don't get bogged down by some stories that have like a structure like that rely on a framework and a format that is a thing. So in this one, it's the correspondence running alongside the tree narrative. At no point does that take any of it just kind of sits in the background and exists, and you accept it exists. It doesn't get clunky. It doesn't have to be twisted too much. You kind of still manage to deliver everything within that. So I think it makes it, it was a nice, elegant vehicle for delivery.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, do you think the trees actually add anything? Do you think you could just take them away and actually be better?
No, I think it'd be boring without that.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think it would. I really do think it would turn into a bit of a nothing without that, and go, oh yeah, it's a story.
Just some people.
I think that just brought such a different depth to it.
Yeah.
And just that whole running concept of their different perception of time and space really worked in it. It really managed to encapsulate why we're running through these people's lives so quickly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And it made that because if you took trees out of it, you're running through these people's lives and you're missing so much stuff out. That wouldn't be acceptable in a story. You'd be like, well, this is ridiculous. Whereas it's almost like just you've seen it almost through the focus of the tree's timeline. So I think that's what that does. It really brings it in. And I have to say, one of my favourite things about it was that I didn't always understand what the trees were saying.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
that.
I was going to ask you firstly,
that.
how quickly do you think, because obviously you guys knew you knew it was trees talking. How quickly do you think you'd know that it was trees talking if you didn't know that?
I don't think I can answer that question.
You can't really answer that because you already knew.
No, it's difficult.
If you didn't know my name was Dave, how long do you think it would take you to work out that my name was Dave?
I don't think
know.
I would have guessed that trees could write letters to each other or fight in wars and stuff. So that would have confused me. But once I got my head around that, and I thought Betty was a strange name for a tree and stuff.
Yeah,
things
I
like
think
that. But
the fact
once I understood it perfectly after that, totally into it. Got it all. Understood it.
pretty early on, you see that they're leaving their letters within trees, and the trees know that. So I think
I think so.
You'd get it pretty quickly. But I thought the use of language for the tree parts was great.
It was really good how you'd not got to, thought, oh God, I need to explain this a bit more. I need to just, you were happy to use treeisms.
Yeah, it was just there.
Plenty of arboreal language that just was their language, like it's been translated.
Yeah.
Just as you would if it was in, I don't know, Spanish or something, or Italian, and you don't know the language, but you can know, you kind of just figuring out.
It'd be translated slightly oddly. But
some little literal translations or whatever, but it's, the heavy foot or whatever, you think, and you kind of start piecing it together. I thought that brought a real atmosphere to it.
Yeah, but as a thing, it didn't matter if you didn't know exactly what they were talking about. It was
nice to go back.
It felt totally natural. Not like, like you get in sort of a lot of fantasy books where they will use language like that. And it just seems kind of forced, but it just all sort of felt totally natural. And the fact that you just kind of used the words and you didn't sort of have to hammer it home.
Yeah, there's none of such and such, which you humans call blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It was just like either look, you get it or you don't get it. Just get on with the book. So I thought that was really nice. But another sort of point about it is that because the whole thing's sort of told in letters, but it didn't feel like there were any sort of superfluous letters. It felt like the right amount of stuff.
That's interesting that you felt that, Dave. That's interesting that you felt that.
Is it? Well, because we were talking about like bad mockumentaries where, like some scenes in Parks and Rec where suddenly there's a camera crew where there's no reason for the camera crew to be there just because of the story. It didn't feel like there was letters sort of shoved in just to get a bit of the story off. It all felt...
Yeah, it didn't break the form, did it?
Yeah.
Cheat or anything, yeah.
Yeah, it felt like it all belonged together. Because it was quite short, but it didn't feel like really short. I'm not saying it felt like it was really long, but in a good way. But it was very sort of involved. There was a lot going on, but I read it all in one sitting, which was really nice. I quite like that about a story.
Yeah, I quite like that about a short story. Yeah, I mean it's only 10,000 words, so in theory,
I didn't have to mess about. It's like right, let me read it. Right, done. On to the next thing. Yeah, it was really, really enjoyable. Just felt like the right length, and it felt like it was all working together well.
Oh, thanks, Dave. That's lovely.
Well, that's the good stuff done, isn't it? I assume you got nothing else, Dave?
Tom?
No, I've got nothing else good to say.
No, you carry on.
Music change. Hang on.
Wow.
I mean, as not an avid reader, I don't feel I'm in the most well-set place to critique the story. But
I'm going to anyway.
My thoughts are... right, just some top-line things, really, John. A couple of little things, but what I did notice was you are much more committed to checking for typos than I am, comparing our two words. And I was thinking about this when I was reading it. I thought, why is that? And I wonder if it's like I've got some kind of PTSD from when I worked in a full-service agency as a copywriter, and I had to copy-check stuff, like everything. Posters, brochures, and 48 sheets, everything. And it was really stressful that you're the last port of call before someone goes, press the button on that £10,000 print run then. Do you mean like little things? Was that meant to be apostrophe? I don't know anymore. Hold on a minute. I think for me, a few things that kind of stuck out, and this is, again, sort of personal stuff to bring more to the story maybe, or to give it more sort of texture and depth. I wondered within the letters whether there was more sort of outside world you could bring in to give a sense of that time, a bit more sort of time setting in that. You did at the start, and then I don't know if you were trying to do that and then maybe got a bit caught up in the story, but just really subtly,
probably
because of the nice way that the times go through from the 30s to the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and obviously there's like different stuff that can just spark a bit of a time setting, an age set, because there was points where you kind of just lost a little bit track of how old they were or what they were doing. I don't know, just an idle mention of a Ford Granada or the such and such or such a film or just like subtle stuff without kind of going, because it's 1981 and I'm looking forward to Live Aid in a couple of years. I can imagine Queen doing a good set. Anyway, pop that in the oak tree.
Knowing their current album isn't that great, but a few years from now they'll have a good solid
buy stock in Apple, I would say. No, just maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, a bit more thought given to that. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Just from their life that comes in, so it's not kind of forced in, but it's just they'll be talking about, like when they are talking about stuff that's happening or someone's going off to that. Because at the start, I feel that it does it, and there's bits of kind of the...
I mean, I think you're right. I think because it gets into story relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think...
And we're talking tiny little bits on that, not to labour it.
Yeah.
But I think it would add quite a lot in terms of having that dynamic parallel of time. So you've still got the trees slowly moving through their time, and these decades mean nothing to them. And then you're kind of demonstrating that the world is really...
It's racing on.
Yeah. You're getting a sort of a dynamic of two different paces of things. That was one thing.
That's good.
Because there are little bits. Because was it my imagination? Because it was quite late when I read it. Were the trees at some point talking about like
1990s rave culture?
Yeah,
no, they used to go into some like pretty big events.
No, there was a bit of like a sort of period where there was like what was it called? Ash dieback.
It was Dutch elm. Yeah.
Dutch elm disease. Disease. Yeah. Yeah. See, that was a quite sort of subtle bit that sort of, set it to a certain time. So
that was the subtle bits are beautiful in it, by the way, John. The bit at the start that made me think, actually, this might not be shit, was when in one of the first letters they're interchanging, and Alfred had lent Betty his gloves, and she'd said, my hands were so cold. Well, one of them at least. I was just left like that as such a lovely, gentle touch on the writing, I thought.
Yeah,
because they've been holding hands, Dave. That's why.
Nothing more sordid than that.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking. This is going to be blue.
Actually, no.
This is going to be blue.
That reminded me of something else that I thought of. John,
do you know what? The thought of them holding hands didn't even cross my mind. I'm ashamed to say.
Well, I think that's nice writing. That's good, though, isn't it? Because it shouldn't. That's so much better that you missed it and I got it and got a little glow of. Well, that's nice.
Well, yeah, exactly. We painted our own pictures in our heads.
That's worth more than saying.
I just paint
because I was holding your hand.
I painted a sort of seaside postcard in my mind, whereas you'd painted a nice, stroll along the river. So
there was on the blue pornographic element of your story, John. Can you explain one bit to me?
I could try.
Where the tree says, "We felt the ground rain with offerings, tiny drops of gratitude."
Yeah.
I mean, what? What?
You're a bad man.
What was that?
Oh, you genuinely don't know?
No, I genuinely don't know.
No, I think they dropped a bag of dolly mixtures.
That's it.
I think that's what it was.
That was it.
Yeah.
No, they were crying.
Yeah.
They were tears. But
yeah, good. I thought she was just wanking him off in the tree. But I don't know if you maybe need to rework that bit.
Which is why her hand was warm. Jesus. I thought it was all so obvious.
Right, yeah, cool. Anyway, I'm glad we cleared that up.
Oh, how to ruin a beautiful moment in my little story.
It is a lovely little love story.
Moving on now.
Shall I tell you a big thing, John? Do you want a big criticism?
Yes, please. Yes.
And see what Dave thinks of this.
I mean, I don't want it, but yes, I do.
Shut up and take it. Here we go. Alfred.
Mm-hmm. Do I call him Tim at some point? Is that what you're going to say?
No. I think he needs a few more dimensions. He just seems a bit too nice and perfect.
That's interesting. Yeah.
He needs a bit more of a flaw. Because even, do you mean, I don't want to ruin the story with where he ends up, but obviously he has his ups and downs.
Yeah.
And he goes to war and stuff, and there should be more. It just feels like there should be a bit more.
Yeah, a bit more anger
scarred,
there.
And do you mean like in his unrequited love, and it just kind of he kind of breezes through it a bit as kind of it's almost like you've cast him as this perfect catch sort of thing. And then for me that kind of makes it not quite work. That well, she would have given up everything. Do you mean like?
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
He maybe is just a bit too smooth around the edges, and needs something.
Yeah, a little bit of darkness.
Yeah,
because even when he's in trouble and bad things happen to him, again without trying to no spoilers, he kind of pops up going, "Oh, well, there you go."
Yeah.
Do you mean it's not?
Yeah.
He's a bit too jolly.
Yeah. These things happen. These things happen. Can't be helped.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Don't want to cause a fuss. Yeah, because there's one little bit, isn't it, where he gets into a bit of a scrape, or it's reported that he has a bit of a scrape.
But he comes out of that kind of going like, "Oh well," like he just stepped in a puddle or something. Never mind.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's food for thought, Tommy. That's good.
Yeah, I'm revising my opinion of it now, Tom. I've been a bit
rubbish.
I've got
nice.
the bits that I'm going to say, and then we can, I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to ruin it for other people.
It's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll tell you outright a bit I don't like, John, that you need to get rid of. On page 28, you've put in a bit of sort of exposition that explains how the trees perceive time. Like you're explaining it out. Oh. And I just think don't do that. You've got all this, that's for people to work out themselves. And it almost struck me as a bit of a, oh God, what if they don't get the tree bit? What if that's not quite working? Oh, here's a little explainer.
Yeah.
But I think maybe reread that with a bit more confidence that it is a good story.
Right, yeah.
It just really stuck out at me, that bit. And I thought, do you know what I mean? You've got such a lovely concept.
Yeah.
You don't need to hold people's hands through it. It's not the end of an American film kind of thing. Everything has to be explained away. I've got more notes here. Again, without trying to give anything away. Obviously, during it, there's maybe I should speak in tree, and then people wouldn't quite know what I was saying, but it would make sense. So obviously, you've got the heavy foot burying the fleshy gift to the tree roots. That just seems to happen without anyone in the real world mentioning it.
Oh, they do.
But it's been constantly happening over a period of time.
No, it hasn't.
Hasn't it?
Did it just happen at once?
Just the once.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood then. I thought there was a repeated
maybe I need to.
serial type element to it.
Maybe I need to.
Right, no, I misread it. So that first time was the time.
Yeah.
It just seemed, right, maybe there needs to be some reference to that in terms of a mum being more worried about being out or something, like kind of setting it up early doors. Because I figured that had happened much later.
No, it happens when Alfred says it.
And this was
if that makes sense. This is not very interesting to listen to, is it? If you haven't read it.
No, it's not. But have a look at that. This is like one of those poor cold reading things, isn't it, from a psychic? Did you see what I mean? Well, not really. Well, have a look for it in the future. Have a look for the future. That will come up.
Yeah.
A blue car with a ginger man. Okay? Keep your eye out.
We should probably have done this after we put all the parts out, really, thinking about it now.
Yeah.
Press pause now, go back and... go forwards and listen.
Go forward in time.
Yeah.
Don't listen to this episode, basically. This episode...
Listen to the rest of it.
Come back to it in 6 weeks. And one more thing was towards the end, when it's all the action's going off, it'd be nice to have it a bit more unclear whether the trees were being passive or active in that last...
Oh, you think? Okay.
Yeah. They seem very passive, and I, as a reader, wanted them to be more active.
Right. I thought I was leaving that quite ambiguous.
They just seemed really passive. It just seemed completely accidental. Mm-hmm. And I would like...
You'd like to know.
For me, it needs to lean more on the active. Because I was kind of... because I could see it coming in a good way.
Yeah.
We talked about it with Will Storr, about the payoff, didn't we? That kind of, you see, the baddie's got its comeuppance. And I was kind of waiting for that and thought they'd be involved somehow. And then it just seemed like, oh, were they? Did it? Was it? Hold a minute. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of... But I got quite involved in it. I really enjoyed it. And
You did, didn't you? That's a lot more useful than my feedback. I just said, yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it was good.
I actually read it while I was on holiday at Centre Park.
Oh, yeah, you sent me a picture of the woods.
I was in the woods, literally sat in the woods reading it.
Did you feel as if someone was watching over your shoulder, reading it, whispering in your ear?
Dave, all I will say is it added some much-needed atmosphere to an otherwise dull tale.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Tommy. All very useful.
Well, thank you for sharing your work with us, John.
Yes,
hey,
it is. It is brave.
It's painful, but it's good. You got to do it.
Dave, do you know what would actually be braver than that, though, for John to do?
What's that?
For John to write an email to... Do you remember Chris Paling, whose book we definitely didn't promote last week, the paperback that's coming out?
Yes, I remember
John
him.
sent Chris an email saying, Chris, please will you read my story and tell me what you think, please, thank you. And Chris emailed John back. And do you know what John did?
What?
I'm assuming this is still true, John.
It is still true. I haven't.
John didn't read the email.
Not read
He
it.
forwarded the email to me to read to him live now.
To get...
really?
For you podcasters.
Wow.
To get the genuine reaction.
This is drama. This is the definition of drama now.
Did anyone else just feel the camera focusing on John's face a little bit closer?
Can we just pause for a minute to really double down on exactly what this means to John and what the sort of upside would be if it's positive, but how devastating it would be if it came back negative.
I haven't read this either, actually. I thought we'd all just play along and go in blind.
Okay, right. That is quite scary.
So,
let's just say that if this is negative, it's the end of the world.
Do you know what, as well? I decided before this recording that if the reaction from you guys and Chris is positive, I'm going to try and get a book of short love stories out for Valentine's Day next year, 2023.
Valentine's, wow, that's good.
I'm going to self-publish a little book just for fun, see if I can sell more than 10 copies.
Yeah,
or
that's cool. Because I was going to ask, where this sits within that sort of bigger anthology.
Well, there's the story with the talking plants, Dave. Then there's one with the talking gnomes.
There's the dolphins.
Yeah.
Then there's the talking
owls. So all down to you, Chris. Really, my writing career is in your hands.
Okay. Do you want to hear what he said?
Oh God. Don't know, really. Have you honestly not read it, Tom?
I haven't read it at all.
Oh, God.
So I might have to pause in places if he's going to do big spoilers. But
okay.
Does it say at the start, "Hi, John, hope you're well"?
It says, "Hi, John."
Is that how it starts?
So this is what I think.
Oh.
So he's just getting straight into
it. Straight into it.
Bad.
It does, doesn't it?
That already sounds bad.
It'd be a bit more positive. That's kind of like, he's just thinking, let's not fluff this up. Let's just get straight to it.
Yeah. I did ask him to be really brutal as well because I said it'd make it for a better podcast.
Right.
And now I'm really regretting saying that.
He is actually going to be, isn't he?
Do you want to hear what he says then?
Okay, go on then.
Okay. Hi, John. So this is what I think. I kind of hate myself for saying this because you've been really brave sending me this in the first place. But I think it is my duty to tell you exactly what I do think of it. The writing seems very shallow. Amateurish would be harsh, but it doesn't seem well finished or thought out. He doesn't say any of that, John. I'm lying. I just made that up.
That was nasty, Tom. That was genuinely nasty. Oh, God. You actually genuinely have me
Oh,
there,
I
mate.
enjoyed that. I enjoyed that far too
You
much.
absolute stinker.
Oh, it was good.
Oh,
I could feel
that's
I
really
could feel that then. That was really
You're a horrible
I
person,
didn't want to
Tom.
do that, John, but that was for the podcast.
Under that pleasant and
Do you know
funny
what I mean? I
exterior.
didn't want to do that, but I felt that was good for the podcast. People will love that. People will love that. Do you want to hear what you actually said? Hi, John. So this is what I think. Nice writing.
Oh,
You draw the characters very well. They lift off the page and I believe in them and their relationship. Ditto the underworld, really drawn into this. I like the conflated language and the sense of the world. Slightly Tolkienish. That's a good comparison, isn't it,
quite
John?
nice, yeah, take that. However,
The
sorry,
issue for
go-
me, the issue for me is that for a short story, you're asking it to carry an awful lot of weight. Whodunit, thriller, otherworldly vocation, love story.
point.
Somebody once described short stories as a journey you join once it's begun and leave before it's ended. What you have here is the basis or template for a much longer work, a novel really, and I do think there's more than enough in it to carry that weight. If it was to become a full-length piece, I'd like the two elements to be drawn together. The present and the earth exist side by side, and they're terrific, but I think we need them to bind together.
Ooh, say that again. I didn't get
Yeah,
that.
and I don't quite get that. Calls himself a writer. What's this, Chris? If it was to become a full-length piece, I'd like the two elements to be drawn together. The present and the earth exist side by side, and they're terrific, but I think we need them to bind together. So maybe, do you think it means that they're very separate in that? It's like trees, letter,
Yeah, I think that's what it means. The trees should be growing
The trees
through
should write some
the
letters.
letters. Yeah, you know, like that when you see a picture of when someone's left a bike against a tree,
and it's grown.
then
Well, that's
40
kind of
years
what he
later,
says
it's
next,
grown
Dave,
through
actually.
it. Yeah.
So he said, bodies decaying, one of the characters buried there and relating the story as they decompose. So maybe kind of
Ooh, interesting.
using that as a bridge into it. I don't know if that's his brain going a bit faster than ours in terms of developing story. The whodunit element was fine, but I wasn't invested quite enough in the story for it to work for me. I like the gentle love story. You drew it well enough to carry me forward. Lovers separated by war and circumstance, eventually finding or not finding each other's after the years have intervened. Not sure, just some top-line thoughts for what they're worth. You write very well, and I do think this deserves developing if you have the time and inclination. I'd like the underworld to be explored more, to be literally taken deeper into it. Hope that's of some use. All the best. Chris.
Oh, that's
Well, I'll
nice,
take
isn't
that,
it?
Chris. I'll take
That's
that, mate.
nice.
Did you get that slight chill as he suggested that you might want to turn it into a novel?
Well, I literally wrote it off as soon as you said it.
I had a slight chill that I would have to read
But
it.
funny, after reading that out, possibly his point about there being almost too much story in there might carry some weight in that. But
Yeah.
but I don't know what you drop out really, because it all kind of fits into. I felt it all fitted into the story. I think it added to the sort of the depth of it going in. Really,
I suppose you are trying to. I was trying to cram in an entire lifetime into it. I mean, that was sort of the point: is to cram an entire life.
that's half
into
the
it.
point of it, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I really like the fact that there was a lot there, but it was very short, and it it didn't take me very long
But
to
I think
read
you
it.
get it. I think you get away with that because it's an
Yeah.
entire lifetime. That's
Yeah.
the point, isn't it?
And I think that's the thing. Like as I said earlier on, you know, because it's all told in letters. If you make it sort of longer, then you have to have reasons for them to be writing more letters to each other.
Yeah, I think that's right. You'd have to have just sort of normal narrative as well, wouldn't you?
Yes, I don't think you could carry that format through into
Yeah.
a novel. I think you'd be stretching it too far.
And then it becomes a completely different thing, then, doesn't it? But
And then I think that would take away some of the magic of the format.
Yeah.
But I think you have to say from that, obviously, he overall very much enjoyed your writing. And
that's nice.
and like us, I think the love story element of it, I think he captured that very nicely in it with the, with the feelings of it. Maybe with his point about the short story, a journey you join once it's begun and leave before it's ended.
Yeah.
Maybe there is something in that in terms
Get
of
out earlier.
Yeah, the ending, because
Don't need
one of
to
my
close
notes was on the ending about how I felt. Can't remember, it was like a letter to his sister or about his sister.
the
or
letter to
whatever at the
Dolly?
end. Yeah, it felt a little bit like a explain it all out a little bit too much, maybe again. So maybe that might actually be a good point he's made there. Well, I'm sure he's made lots of good points. That sounded a bit. I'm sure multi-novelist and successful writer. Yeah.
Just the one good point there from Chris.
yeah, but maybe that's
Thank you,
true. It
Chris.
just doesn't all have to tie up into a neat little.
No, you can.
bow there,
You can still have a will they won't they at the end without saying they will or they won't.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I really struggle with that bit because I always find that it's always massively satisfying when you get a nice closed off ending, to read, but actually it doesn't necessarily make for the best writing. So I always struggle with...
Yeah, sometimes it's like the promise or the possibility of a happy ending is better than actually describing happiness,
I think that's my natural bent, is to go for ambiguity in situations like that. But I think I felt like this story, because of what it was, it felt like I don't know. I just wanted to wrap
I don't know if
I wouldn't normally,
as we're standing here, top of my head sort of thing, without giving it away. Like her situation might change and his situation might change. There's a possibility that things might come together at the end, but we don't necessarily have to see it all happen.
I think that if the brilliant writing comes where you can leave both options entirely possible, but the reader individually is certain that that's how it ended.
Yeah.
Just write it really well, John. Yeah, that's what you got to do, isn't it?
Good job of it.
Just write better.
I think reading between the lines, that's what Chris is saying.
I think you're right. Yeah, no, I take that on board, definitely, because I had a similar thought.
That's good. I think that's brilliant and stuff like that, isn't it? Where you put stuff in and you think, I'm not sure, and it's actually brilliant when people go back and go, no, that doesn't work. And you think, God, bloody knew that, but I wasn't like...
I suspect that what's interesting as well is I suspect if you took like a large group of people, it would probably be right split down the middle. You'd get a load of people who'd say, no, I love the fact that it closed it off. And I think you'd get a load of people that said, no.
Of course, you would with anything, wouldn't you? You do. Well, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
It's like when you read the reviews on Amazon for books and stuff, and there's wonderful, and then someone comes in with a 1 star, like, this was the worst thing I've ever, and they genuinely mean it, and you think, how can people have
for
such
the same reason? Yeah. So how does this? What are the rest of the stories like then, John? Because I genuinely think you should put together. And I don't think you should see it as, I'm just going to throw together a little anthology just for fun, and a few people might. No, you forced Tom into signing a contract, a legally binding document saying he was going to finish his thing properly. I think you should have the same plan, because it is a really good story, and I'd like to see how it fits in with your other silly little love stories. How's it all going to come together? Is there a theme outside of just love stories?
I'm not sure there is really. I think, because I haven't... When I first started writing short stories, I didn't have this in mind. So they, I've got a few in the bag, but they're not necessarily themed. In fact, they're incredibly different.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think that's better. Yeah.
There's
not there isn't really a thread that pulls them together apart from, love, them being kind of themed by love.
I think that's enough, isn't it?
Well, I think so.
But yeah, like having heard the other stories that you did last year or the year before or whatever it was, and that with these, I think, I think you should. God damn it, John, put together a proper anthology.
Just imagine if John's anthology, love anthology, like just goes mental, goes viral, and then in like 10 years, 15 years time, when people are getting married and they have to pick a verse to read, the tree verses come out.
Yeah,
you should read the tree one from the John Rand book. Oh God, yeah. I'm talking all this nonsense about in the whatever
here in the underworld,
in the leaf down as the cycles passed with the heavy foot. Everyone's going,
the gloaming times.
Yeah,
that would be nice, wouldn't it?
That would be nice.
But
I mean, that's the dream, isn't it, for all of us?
I'm not to be represented at a wedding.
I'm not sure that Chad Nadworth. There's not going to be that much out of that's going to make it to a wedding. I might need to write something else for that. Yeah, not necessarily wedding divorce stuff.
Yes.
If you had a divorce
reading,
ceremony,
yes,
there you go.
There's a gap in the market for that. We should do that. Should we set up as like people have weddings? You could have a divorce party.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, there's it's like almost a wedding in reverse.
Yeah,
that is brilliant. We could write the poems. For that,
definitely. We do songs. We do some ditties.
Yeah, I can hear Dave doing one of his like Pam Ayres type. That's gonna work.
Yeah. A decree.
You may now not kiss your wife. She's not your wife anymore. Let's go have a party.
You may now kiss whoever you want.
Kiss that floozy from down the street. That's why it's all bloody kicked off in the first place.
But it's legal now.
Yeah.
Decree absolute party.
Oh, lads, listen. Thank you. That's very nice of you to read it, and B, give me some nice feedback and a lot to think about.
Well, you're welcome, John.
Overall, John, obviously we said about you could change this and what have you, and obviously you could change nothing because it was It was lovely to read.
Thanks, guys.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can always
I
suggest
enjoyed
bits to tweak or change. Anyone, even when you finish something, that carries on, doesn't
it? So shall I not tweak it before I finish recording it? I can't really now, can I? I've set off down that journey.
No, I think record it as it is, and then version 2 can appear in the book if there's tweaks and stuff.
Yeah,
and that's
good
nice.
point.
Yeah.
It's a good reason for people. It's a good tease on for people to buy it. Then,
There you go.
It's the tree story,
Clever.
but it's a little bit different. But no, I think it'd be great for people to be able to listen to it and get through it, and then come back to this episode again and have another listen through and think, it was shit in that bit.
Or you get people who finally buy the book, spend their hard-earned money on it, read it, and go, this isn't as good as the one that I heard for free on the Failing Writers podcast. Why did he change it all for? Yeah,
why did he change it all? He's ruined it by overthinking it.
Listen to them. I didn't know what they were talking about.
Turn the trees into traffic cones. It just doesn't make sense anymore.
They've ruined it between them.
But yeah, well done, John. If it was in a book and there was another story to read tonight, I would read another story.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Oh, and what I said to John was as well, Dave. When I was reading it, I could really see it as a stage play.
Oh yeah,
with your two main characters almost never seeing each other.
Yeah,
and then having a big screen that does all the in-forest bits as sort of a almost dreamlike video.
And then I can see you actually in the middle,
dressed
Tom,
as a tree,
wearing a tree outfit. Yeah, just sort of swaying back and forth.
I think it would work really well on a stage, just with a little bit of tweaking in the thing, but. Because you kind of got these people delivering letters, and they could get older as they go in, because the spotlight would go off them, then they can go and have a quick change and be made to look older and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can deal with a sense of change of time like that. And you'd have the sort of the forest as the background, and I see it like on almost like a big video screen of kind of coming in and showing that passage of time.
The trees, the leaves changing and falling off. Children walking through the audience, nice. Scattering leaves as they fall in the autumn.
You could spray the scent. You know, like Aston Blumenthal sprays the scent of like vinegar when
spray
you people chips. I think I've heard that he just when he's at the seaside for a day out, he has a vinegar infuser with him just to literally sneak up on people. And if he sees anyone eating like a boiled egg or something like that, he'll spray a bit of vinegar, and they think they're having a pickled egg. They didn't even get they're confused, but he loves it because he's such a thinker. You could do that with the in the audience, like just send in some smell of pine and oak and trees.
But yes, definitely potential there.
Yeah. More to think about.
You could release the smell of the drops of gratitude hitting the floor. Ooh, maybe not actually. I might put people off. So I enjoyed it as a written story. I also enjoyed it as a play in my head, John. So well done.
Wow. That's good to hear.
So what do we do after that?
How to follow that? Well,
how do we top it?
Are we doing you, so to speak, next week, Dave? Is that the plan?
I don't know. That just depends upon
certainly in the next few weeks. Let's not commit to next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've got an awful feeling I might need to start from the start again, because I got halfway through.
Yeah, I've
got a little bit bored, and then
Tom has read some stuff recently, so he's
a bit all read out.
Yeah, doing the reading.
A lot of stuff.
Well, I started reading it again, Dave.
Has it got any better, or no? Is it still?
I'm enjoying it more, actually.
Yeah.
I think because I'm reading it, I'm enjoying reading it as a critic.
That's not gone as well as
No, I'm only kidding. No, I'm enjoying it. I think because I just know the characters better. So as soon as they're introduced, I know who they are rather than, do you know what I mean? You've got to sort of learn who
so you feel Dave's characters a week. Save it for later on, John.
But it's clear that Tom read your story twice, I think, in the sort of, the feedback.
I did. I read it for fun, and then I read it for notes.
There you go. You see,
right, interesting.
I only read it for fun. If I was to read it again, maybe I'd have some more criticisms to make.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
But
I guess we'll never find out, Dave.
It doesn't stand up to that kind of scrutiny.
But whenever you're ready, I'm ready. I can take it.
So it's a full novel, isn't it? So it's going to be.
It's going to be a lot of notes. A lot of notes.
Unless it's just like after all that in-depth stuff on mine and John's, we just come back and go, yeah, it's all right. And you're like, well, what do you think about the character development? I go, yeah, fine.
Yeah, that'd do.
That's probably it's a lot better than I was thinking. Yes, get in.
Yeah. I'll just leave it then.
Has your dad read it?
No, not yet.
Oh, has he not?
No, not yet. No.
What? How come? You haven't?
Well, because I haven't read it, back myself since I finished it, and I wanted to do that first.
Are you going to do that for our episode?
You better do, because you won't have a clue.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, because you'll be giving me notes and I'll be going, is
I
it?
don't know what you're talking about.
I don't remember that bit.
Yeah, that might be useful.
Yeah, maybe I'll read it again. All right, I'll read it.
It might spur you on.
Do you know what? I'll
do more.
I'll do my own bloody review.
Yeah, do it. Actually, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, I'll just come in and say,
we'll start
right,
with your review.
10 out of 10, absolutely nothing wrong with it, and I dare anyone to say different.
I think it does help as well. I can't remember how long it's been, but it's been quite a long time, hasn't it, since you finished it, that draft?
It was October.
Oh, was it? Wow.
Yeah.
But they do say, stick it in a drawer and then come back to it in a few months.
Yeah.
So
that's actually what I've done. So, yeah, I'll give it a read.
Brilliant. Right. Well, so we don't know what we're doing next week, so we can't set up next week, but we can.
We don't. It's a mystery. Do you know what I think we should do in coming weeks? We're talking about writer's block at the start. We had that email, didn't we, from that lady that's a bit of an expert on that kind of thing. We should have a little chat with her about it. And
I think it might be.
Because I think it's quite an interesting thing. It's something that touches on anyone that's ever written or tried to write.
Yeah.
There's always a point where you're just staring at a blank screen. And even if you know why it is, do you know what I mean, techniques to get around it or anything, I think it's just an interesting thing, isn't it? As a craft thing, as a form of art.
Yeah, lots of people have different methods, don't they? Like there's this, like the oblique strategies method, where you just find something random. Perhaps we could offer that service actually. If you're stuck at the minute, if you've got a whip and you're a bit stuck, just let us know, like what your last few words were before you got stuck, and we'll just come up with something as like a starter to get you going again.
That's good. Yeah, in the same way that we used AI.
Yeah. We'll be your because some sort of intelligence. I'm not sure if it's real intelligence, artificial intelligence.
So people would send it. I just imagine people would send it in and either get back some incoherent tree speak, some very poor written stand-up comedy from a fictional comedy competition, or some horrendous sales advice from some 1980s.
But that could be exactly what is needed.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that could be just what they need.
Yeah.
Could be just what they need. I was just thinking though, with the writer's block, is there just writer's block, or like, can you get cooking block? Like if you're just doing some cooking, you just suddenly like freeze up and don't know what to do next. You just sat there as the pasta's sat in the bowl or something, or you don't have it with anything else. Like direction block, like you're going out for a walk and you just I can't decide which way to go, so you just kind of freeze in the middle of the road.
Well, you get it in. There are certain sports. Have you heard of the yips?
Yeah.
The yips.
What are the yips, Dave?
The yips. It comes from golf, but you get the same thing.
Says John instantly when I have actually seen him try to play golf. You know what the yips are, John. You know what the yips are.
The yip is where you sort of reach a point where you like. Usually when you're sort of overthinking it and you just can't, you can't do it. You can't.
Mean life. Sorry. Yeah. I got you. Yips.
Yeah, but like some darts players get it where they just can't let go of the dart. Because like this sort of some sort of mental thing.
Yeah, it's golf. It's very much with the putting thing, isn't it? It's like kind of you're on the putting green, and just like whatever you do, you're going to miss. It's going to miss, and you just miss by more and more.
I think Stephen Hendry said that he'd suffered a similar thing in snooker as well, where you just reach a point where you've done it so often because if you're really good at something, you do it by sort of muscle memory, and then you go kind of past that to overthinking things, and you just
you can do that with anything.
Yourself.
I've done that. If you do that, try it when you're out running next, and actually really think about how your feet are landing and how the muscles
about
in
where
your
your
legs
feet
are
are going. Yes,
and you almost fall. You literally almost fall. It's just ridiculous. Or you start thinking about your breathing when you're doing it.
I've said to you before, I can't run without headphones on because as soon as I hear myself breathing, I can't concentrate on anything else, and then I can't breathe. I just forget how to breathe completely.
Yeah, breathing block.
Yeah.
Oh, it's there. Yeah, it happens with everything. So, yeah, maybe we should have a chat about that with a bona fide expert rather than us just making
But that would be more useful, wouldn't it? Someone who knows what they're talking about.
More useful.
Mind you, if people want people who know what they're talking about, they wouldn't be listening to this bloody show in the first place.
Tuned out about episode 4, didn't
exactly.
They wanted that.
Yeah.
That ship has long since sailed.
Right, we're talking of ships that sail.
Sips and sailing and waffling ships. Yeah.
Yep. We should jump on a ship and sail off into the sunset.
Yeah. But we shoot out our drops of gratitude to all our listeners.
One for each of you.
Look out, there's one.
But yes, well done, John. Congratulations on
well done, John.
actually finishing something and being brave enough to let us read it.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for listening to our rambling.
Take it easy.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, Trevor.
Was Trevor? So is Trevor? I'm just on the whole thing. I was like, because I guess you can breed trees together, don't they? They do it for apple trees to get different varieties and things, don't they?
I still think that is utterly amazing. I still can't get my head around the fact that that's real.
What apples? Like, you can't just plant an apple tree that was from an apple to get that apple. It could be a different kind of apple.
Yeah, you can literally cut a branch off of one type of apple tree, stick it into another type of apple tree, and grow a different apple off that tree. Yeah. That's amazing.
Apples, you can't.
That's just ridiculous. Yeah. How is that real?
Just,
if you wrote that in a book, oh yeah, you came along, I chopped a branch off a tree, shoved it in another tree, and that grew out of it, people would go, rubbish. That's not real. But yeah.
Mental.
Apples, man.
There's a lot of crazy fruit stuff, though, isn't there? Something like, have you ever seen a pineapple, where a pineapple grows?
No, I don't know.
Out of the ground.
How do they grow?
What would you imagine?
Just sort of
Yeah, they look like they should grow in a tree, don't they? You think they should be like a coconut,
like a coconut or something.
Yeah. But no, they just pop out a little bush, like kind of like a big grassy thing. And this pineapple's just like about 2 foot up in the.
Easier to reach.
Well,
though.
yeah.
Really handy.
Dates don't seem to go off.
That is so true. You can have them for, literally years, can't you? In the fridge?
It just says, not even in the fridge, it just says store in a cool, dark place.
Like a fridge.
Like my heart.
Yeah. Up me jumper.
Do you think that's just because they can't put sell-by dates on dates? Because it gets confusing because the word date comes up too many times. It's like, just it's too confusing. Can't have a use-by date. Just put, it'll be fine. Keep it in a cupboard.
Yeah.
Well, honey never goes off, does it? No. They've got honey from like ancient Egypt and stuff. That's absolutely fine.
Is it really? Is it fine, or is it one of those things like
Anyone
like
tried
really
it?
old wine where people
Ancient
go,
Egyptian.
this is beautiful. This is worth thousands. Is it nice,
Well, no, because
or
that
is
does
it just
turn
because
into vinegar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But no, honey is
basically just sugar,
honey
isn't it?
will last
Sugar and
forever.
bee vomit.
Bee juice, yeah. Drops of bee gratitude. Right.
I can't even remember how we got onto fruit now. But,
I had £1 for every time you said that, Dave.
but I think we'd already said goodbye, hadn't we?
Yeah, we said goodbye.
It doesn't usually stop you saying it again, Dave, to be honest.
Long gone.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, fair enough.
Hello.
Where's everybody gone?
The Ancient, Part 3. They arrived from different directions as they used to, their old songs rushing through clusters of rustling light pool, bouncing through boughs, reaching closer, then silence as they approached, pausing near the edge of the ancients, until one light tread sped quick toward the other, and the two were side by side again, soft sounds echoing between us. A remembrance, like a scar deep down in the ground, an aching.
27th of June, 1971. Dear Alfred, thank you for meeting me. Are you glad you didn't leave without saying goodbye now? When I think back, I can't quite work out if it was all real, or if I'd made some of it up. I've often wondered what it would be like to actually meet again. If maybe we'd have nothing to say, if all that heat in my chest back then was just a symptom of youth, and in reality we'd be a pair of washed-up old folk fumbling around awkwardly for things to say to each other. I don't think I've spoken so many words in the last 15 years. I wonder if we should meet again. Let's maybe meet again, if you'd like to. Saturday's good. Stanley plays snooker all afternoon. Yours truly, Betty.
2nd of July, 1971. Dear Betty, yes, I think it's safe to say I'm glad I didn't leave when I was planning to. You were quite a picture, appearing out of the trees in that green dress, like a forest dryad, about to launch yourself up into the high branches, exactly the way I remember you all those years ago. Perhaps time has no effect in the forest. Yes, let's meet Saturday. I'd like that very much. Yours, always, Alfred.
4th of July, 1971. Dear Alfred, I thought it was best not to meet you on Saturday. I hope I didn't give you some sort of false hope that there was something between us last week. Because that isn't true as far as I'm concerned. I love my husband, and I simply don't need anything to jeopardise that. I would prefer, in future, if you stayed away from our family and desist in writing to me. Thank you. Yours sincerely, Betty.
The heavy foot came once more in the shadow time, cut into the earth, journeying over the old, dry remains he'd once fed to us, so many warnings ago. Soon, the sniffers and the others clustered there, like crawlers around fruit, soft-footing about, opening up the ground, light flash and dry cover, unknotting the cold, stripped, empty bones from our grip and taking them away. In 2 sky runs, every one of the upright were gone. And then, quiet.
3rd of May, 1971. It's been 2 years since we met in the woods again. I'd like to tell you prison isn't as bad as you'd imagine, but you've never been a fool, Betty Grimshaw, and I won't start patronising you now. I don't know if you're getting any of my letters or even reading them, but hope is all I have. I keep writing because I need you to know I did not kill Mary Greenaway. I'd like to think you already know that, but Betty, it would mean so much to me if you told me you believe me. I think I could just about survive this if you were on my side. That tooth they found buried with her can't be mine. I lost mine in Burma. And anyway, surely it proves nothing. I can think of a dozen people with missing teeth. Christ, practically my entire regiment walked around with mouths like Stonehenge. I do like to think she put up a fight with whomever did that to her, though. Knocked at least one of the bastards' teeth out. Maybe the police could cross-reference all the local men who were in the area at the time who have a premolar missing from the top right of their jaws. Maybe that would help them find who really did this. I know I'm asking a big favour from you, Betty, and I know Stanley isn't a fan of mine, but maybe you could talk to him. He's quite high up in the force now, isn't he? Perhaps he could be persuaded to look at the case again. As for the locket with your picture in, I must have lost it around the time we met in the woods. I'd only just started wearing it again. It must have got caught on a branch and got trodden into the ground where Mary was buried. I know it all sounds improbable, but it makes no sense otherwise. I can cope with you not visiting me, and I understand why you wouldn't want to, but if you could bring yourself to write, it might help me get through this. I hope you reach the letterbox before your husband, or I suppose this letter will never find you. Perhaps none of them have, but I'll keep trying. I hope things are okay with you, Betty. Take care. Love, Alfred.
10th of May, 1973. Dear Alfred, thank you for your recent letter. I have thought about visiting you. Yes, I know how that sounds. Pathetic. Like thinking about it somehow justifies the fact that I haven't done it. But at the risk of sounding like I'm making excuses, there are 2 factors that have complicated things. And perhaps you might forgive me if you considered them. The first is I've been in shock, apparently. Your arrest hit me harder than I had any concept of. I don't remember much of this period, but Stanley had me committed to the psychiatric hospital at Raw Lake. I came home in March, but I still have periods of extreme anxiety. They kept telling me I had to come to terms with what you'd done, over and over. You must come to terms with it, Betty. You must come to terms with the terrible thing this man has done, or your road to recovery can never begin. But how can you come to terms with something when you've always felt it can't be true, despite everyone's certainty? Secondly, I'm certain I received your last letter more by chance than anything else. Stanley has a friend at the post office who I'm sure has been intercepting mail addressed to me. Dolly's husband has kindly offered to hand-deliver the occasional letter to the prison. If I thought it would do any good to talk to him, I would have already tried, Alfred. But to be blunt, it's like the old Stanley doesn't exist anymore. He looks at me like I'm damaged goods, with undisguised disdain on his face. All those years ago, when he was courting me, he really was sweet and funny and charming. The person who's replaced him is angry, cruel, and drunk most of the time. When Alfie and Hazel come to visit, he seems to revert to his old self, but the rest of the time, it's like living with a prison guard. I can never do enough to make him happy. I almost forgot. In future, you should write to Dolly. She only lives in Belthorpe, so she can pass any letters on whenever one of us visits. Dorothy Larkin, 39, Cowslip Vale, Belthorpe, OM11 2KM. Alfred, thank you for writing. I wouldn't have blamed you for never wanting to speak to me again after the last letter you received from me. I hope you could tell I was coerced into writing it. Stanley had one of his minions follow me to the beech tree, and I'm sorry to say led them straight to your letter. You can probably imagine the misery that caused. But I will never stop looking forward to hearing from you, Alfred. In the meantime, I'll try to think of any way I might be able to help you. Take care in there. Love, Betty. P.S. Something you said struck a chord with me. Can you remember exactly when you lost the locket?
There they were again, the songs. We felt the world breath hum with them, even before she came among us. Then felt her step in the brush of her hands, and the gentle stop-start of her feet. After 2 complete cycles, she was returning.
24th of May, 1973. Dear Betty, oh, I wish you'd seen my face when my name got called for mail. I must have looked about 5 years old. I had to try and act indifferently in front of the other inmates, while inside I was gliding past them on my knees like a kid at a disco. Thank you. Thank you so much for replying, Betty, and for believing me. You asked me when I lost the locket. I wish I could remember. I've been over and over it in my head. At first, I thought I might have lost it during the altercation with Stanley, but we were nowhere near the place Mary's body was found. I'd been all over the woods several times before and after that, so I could have dropped it any time. There was so much going on then. The first time I realised it was definitely missing was the day I received your final letter, 2 days before I was arrested. I took losing it as a kind of omen, and sure enough it was. How is the forest? The hawthorn will be in full bloom now, spicy almond-scented clouds floating in the branches, and the horse chestnut will be pointing its multitude of blushing white arrows up to the heavens. You see, Betty, I might be in here, but I can still visit the forest whenever I need to. I hope you're okay. It sounds like you've been through hell. Hopefully things have settled down for you now. If Stanley won't help, don't worry. I'm sure there are other ways to prove my innocence. Thank you again, Betty, and please write back soon. Love, Alfred.
29th of October, 1980. Dear Alfred, the trees were hanging on, only just, but now every last crisp, old leaf has fallen. The gales on Wednesday night brought them all down in one. I took a long walk the following day, saw the ground littered with broken branches and twigs, an arboreal apocalypse. So quiet, as though all the fauna had moved out or died. I can't believe you've been in there for 9 years, Alfred. 9 years on, and only now I have a terrible admission. Not easy to begin, but here goes. For some time I've carried around a thought so awful I've somehow managed to hide it, even from myself. I've been shoving it back down every time it rears up, but now I can't stop it. What if, Alfred, what if I'd thought of someone who was in the area when Mary Greenaway was killed? Someone whose upper left premolar is missing, but who, I found out, wears a bridge to hide the fact. What if I knew they had the opportunity to take your locket and bury it where they knew her body was? Worst of all, what if I knew this person wasn't home the night she disappeared? What if I thought all of this a year ago and never mentioned it? Because I couldn't bear it to be true. Could you ever forgive me? Could I ever forgive myself? Stay safe, Alfred. Love, Betty.
19th of November, 1980. Dear Betty, firstly, I'm sorry for the delay in replying to your last letter. I've been in the infirmary. The last thing you asked me to do in your letter was to stay safe, and I'm afraid I've gone and ignored that good advice almost as soon as I read it.
I made the mistake of turning my back for a moment and getting myself stabbed. I'm fine though, really. Recovering well. Amazing how quickly we heal, even at my age. Secondly, and much more importantly, if you're saying what I think you might be saying, Betty, you need to tread very carefully. Please don't mention what you said in your letter to anyone else, however tempting it might be to interrogate him or even mention any of this to someone you trust. Please don't. I think the adage about not cornering a wounded animal applies here. If he's really capable of what you're suggesting, you might not be safe. And I can't even go there. With everything that's happened, I would rather live out my years here than see you in danger. I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of a dangerous person's grievance, and having been sliced 3 times in the side with a homemade knife, I wouldn't recommend it. Funny side note to my recent altercation with a shiv is that the scar looks like a tree. 1 thin line for the trunk, and 2 boughs branching from it like an apple tree in winter. My friend Samuel, a fellow nemophilist, said that maybe it was payback for carving our names in the beach. Nature's way of getting its revenge. I quite like that. I cut into a tree, and now I have a tree cut into me. The universe's equilibrium returns to balance. It pains me badly to say it, but under the circumstances, I think it's better if you don't visit me for a while, just in case he finds out. Please stay safe. Alfred.